Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you again. My name is Astro Coach Amy, and I'm very excited to be here with you. Today, we're going to be talking about what are the lunar nodes in astrology. And this is a deep and mysterious topic, but we're going to just give a little preview today. It's been on my mind so much since all the excitement with the presidential election. And the lunar nodes are a really important part of spiritual astrology in that as souls, we bring in many different impressions, memories from past times, past incarnations that we have. And of course, some are positive and some may not be so positive. But we have this in our cell memory. And sometimes it might be meeting someone that suddenly there's a recognition. It might be good or bad, but you feel like you know them. So today, the reason we're looking at the lunar nodes is I feel it's a very important part of our growth as human beings. And as we mature, we are going to need to deal with those energies in a more effective way, step by step. So that if we think about some people call them the dragon's head or the dragon's tail, but the idea is that you've brought many skills and talents with you from your previous lifetimes. And in this lifetime, you're learning new things. You're learning how to integrate, to balance, and to be a better and brighter person. So the South Node, if we were to look in your chart, shows us some of the skills and talents and some of the things that you might have been engaged in prior lifetimes. And part of your challenge in this life is to learn how to balance that polarity. So we're going to make it a little bit more concrete, since I know that might sound a little abstract. So there, as we know, there are 12 signs of the zodiac, which means there would be 12 signs for the nodes. Now, the interesting thing is all the nodes have a pair, which is their opposite. So if you're born with the Aries North Node, that means your South Node was in Libra. If you're born with a Taurus North Node, then your South Node would have been in Scorpio, and so on. Gemini, your South Node would have been in Sagittarius. If your North Node is in Cancer, then your South Node would be in Capricorn. If your North Node is in Leo, then your South Node would be in Aquarius. And then halfway around the zodiac, if your North Node is in Virgo, that means your South Node is in Pisces. Now it gets more interesting as we go around the zodiac, because that would mean then if Libra is your North Node, it means your South Node is in Aries. So I'll give you a good concrete example. If you're born with the Aries North Node, which is a nice fiery North Node, it means in this lifetime, part of what you're learning is to be an independent person, pioneer, that you're looking to be willing to forge on and do things and break ground and be creative in some area of your life and not always be depending on the approval or collaboration of other people. It doesn't mean you're not going to learn how to collaborate. It means that number one is not about your getting others' approval. Number one is being willing to trust your instincts and your passion and your creativity to move forward. Now, if we flip the switch and you have a North Node in Libra, it means in this life, you're learning how to collaborate, that it is important. Not that you have to live and worry about people's approval all the time, but one of your important lessons of growth as a soul is to learn how to cooperate and how to collaborate and still be able to maintain your own truth. And I know that isn't always easy, but it means that you may have been used to the Aries, that very independent energy, and now you're learning the opposite. So the universe is always blessing us and that we're having to learn our opposite. Now, it doesn't, again, have to do as much with your sun sign. This is something a little bit, this has a little more esoteric meaning in some ways, but everyone has it in their chart. And what we're looking at is its influence among the other cast of characters. So in other words, depending on where those planetary energies might be. For example, if you're someone who was born, and let's say you have a sun in the earth sign of Virgo, and you were born with your north node in Virgo, it means that there's a lot more emphasis for you. It might be in health, it might be in learning. You might be someone who's really good at analyzing and being a really good writer in some ways, or even a good craftsperson. But it also means you may be very familiar with that Pisces energy, and you're learning how to balance that in this particular lifetime. So the nodes they're very important. We're not by any means underestimating. We'll give some more examples because I think this is a really important, today's lesson is very important. And as I've mentioned very briefly last week, part of what's been very interesting is the nodes move, and it's about every 18 months they do change signs. It does not have the impact in our personal lives, such as the outer planets when they do our transits. But even we know the sun, of course, goes through its signs every 30 days and the moon every 28 days. These are all very significant and they move very quickly. What we're looking at also right now is because we have in the heavens the node that has been transiting, which, as I mentioned last week, is in the sign of Aquarius, and Neptune has been in the sign of Aquarius, and they've been very close. They've been within 2 degrees now for over 5 weeks. And the reason, again, I want to bring this into the conversation is Neptune has a very positive and powerful side, which is to help us connect to our highest level of altruism and spirituality, and really having a greater concern for humankind. And certainly with all the excitement we've had in the election this past week or so, we all need to see how we can contribute to the solution, as I mentioned, rather than the problem. But one of the things I talked about Michael Jackson last week, and the only person we could change was that man or woman in the mirror. And again, the reason I bring that up this week is that pattern is still very important. It's still in the heavens, not going to just disappear in 10 minutes. And I think we've had a very important turn of events, and there are many things going on globally, as we know. So the first thing is, in the short range, is we look and see, who do we see in the mirror? Not pointing at some presidential candidate or someone who passed perhaps a measure that you don't agree with, but rather what has it brought up for you? What is it making you think about? What film have you seen recently, or piece of music that's bringing you to a deeper resonance of your soul? This is the kind of conversation we want to have about the nodes, the north and south nodes. And as we're going to go more deeply into this in another YouTube show. But today I did want to review these. And we're going to look at just a couple more of the signs before we wrap up for today. But just so that we don't ignore some of the other signs. For example, if you had a Gemini North Node, for example, and that meant you had what we call Sagittarius South Node. So another example might be someone who's really fantastic networker. They love learning. They're just so excited by information. But that's what they brought with them. But if they have a Sagittarius North Node, this might be their opportunity to go a little bit more deeply into their spiritual beliefs and find a way to connect more deeply. It might be a way for them to have a different viewpoint of meeting people from other cultures, to see what they can contribute to their life. Perhaps it might be a lifetime where it's good for them to learn to master a second language, where they can really learn to unite with people from other cultures and see what they have in common and what they can bring forward. So it has tremendous potential as we tap in. And sometimes it's something that is really challenging for us to go towards that North Node. And other times we might find it feels more natural. Much of that will depend upon its relationship in your birth chart with some of the other planets. If you have North Node with very close to one of the personal planets, it might have a more, shall we say, a more intense impact when you're a bit younger. Whereas if not, you might notice it as you age a bit, perhaps get into your 20s and 30s. You'll start to see it differently. But if it were very close, for example, to Venus, then it might have a lot to do with your values, how you see yourself, how you value the work and the way you look. It would have a very different connotation than if it's Mars. It's all about your doing. What are you going to be doing that will take you to that next goal, that mission? So as I mentioned, this is a very interesting aspect. I don't think it's always well understood in some of the astrology books. And I think sometimes the indication can be a little bit negative, and I don't think that's necessary. But it's rather embracing where we've been and bringing it with us and seeing how we can pay it forward. I'm going to just use that as we get ready to close today. But I will use just one other example that I was going to mention and neglected to do so. For example, if you had the Cancer North Node, then that would mean you had the Capricorn South Node. So what that might mean is, in a past incarnation, you might have been very concerned about the family name, about the structure, about the shape of your career, for example, and those outer structures being strong and stable. And those are certainly important things. This lifetime, if you were given the Cancer North Node, it means you get to learn the polarity, which is about nurturing and balance. Perhaps you end up having a couple of children, or perhaps you end up working with children. Perhaps you end up loving animals and wanting to nurture them. It's about learning new ways to appreciate emotional caring and nurturing, and to see that as a positive quality rather than achievement being the most important thing. So often if there's something that you find might challenge you, it might even feel a little irritating, it might feel a little bit exciting, but a little bit foreign, that might mean you're getting closer to some of the energy of the North Node. And it's a good place of growth. We'll be looking at it more closely. And soon on my website, I'll have more resources for you. It's still a work in progress, and it's getting close to the first level of completion. So you can come in and say hi and be getting some nice handouts that you can enjoy in learning more about your sign in Sidereal Western Astrology. So thanks for tuning in with me today. I look forward to getting to see you next week. And we have lots of interesting topics in astrology that we'll be looking at each week. Have a great day. And don't forget, life is a gift. Thanks for tuning in.